Mark Wheatley, and welcome to episode 164 of the Wheatley podcast. It is 6:14 a.m. on Paddy's Day. Slept about 3 hours last night. I think I've come down with some sort of a head cold. So it was one of those ones where it took me ages to get to sleep, even though I was wrecked. And then one of those when I woke up at about like 4 o'clock. And I just couldn't get back to sleep. I was just like shifting around and not quite getting there. So I thought, with the weekend in front of me, if I could record this podcast early and have it in the bag, and then just have the weekend, I suppose. And we have two guests lined up for the next 2 weeks, which is always very, good and fortunate. We're very lucky for that. But I thought I'd do a solo episode because I was supposed to check before I start recording when the last time we did a solo episode, but it's probably maybe 6 weeks ago now. I'm not really sure, actually. It could be actually longer than that. But it's just kind of, you can see in the title, if you are watching or listening to this, just what this, you might not know what this means, and that's fine. I think 152 was the last solo episode, which is, that couldn't be. No, 153 was the last one. That's quite a while ago now, 11 episodes now. Which again, I'm a bit skeptical about. Is that true or not? But anyway, regardless of that, sorry, it's 160, it's only 4 weeks ago. My bad. Regardless of that, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Thanks very much to Ali for coming on last week to talk about travel. It was always an interesting chat. And I will be obviously expanding on some of my thoughts from last week in this one. You can support us on Buy Me a Coffee. The links are in the description. Every so often I put it out on social media and just leave it there and sit in my own guilt for doing that. So another thing that happened during the week for people who don't follow the podcast on social media, and if not, why not? I started a new podcast with my friend Josh. It's really his podcast, and look, I'm still none the wiser why he asked me to do it. But it's called Lucky Works Co Podcast. Co is in the abbreviation of a company, so co.podcast. It's Josh's brand that he's getting going, basically, and he thought the best way to kind of get that out there would be to do a podcast about it, and we will be talking about loads of stuff. The first episode literally just came out as of recording yesterday, so it's an introduction and it'll explain what the brand is about, what the podcast is about. We're going to just do it monthly for now, and there's loads of stuff that we have to cover, and Josh is very, very educated on lots of things, and I will add something. That's all I can say. But listen, go and follow us on Lucky Works Co Podcast. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. And then the podcast is available on Apple. I set them up yesterday. So it's Apple, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So the same as this one, basically. Why this episode? So the title of this episode, Hyrox and High Anxiety. So you may not know what Hyrox is. So that's what we're going to talk about. I actually have it on my phone. So Hyrox is it's not quite a CrossFit competition. It's not quite an endurance kind of test, but it's somewhere in between. So I'm going to read out the actual course, or what you have to do to complete it, and for some people win, other people just take part. All right. So it's 1 kilometer run, 1,000 meters on a skier machine, 1 kilometer run, a 50 meters sled push of 152 kg, 1 kilometer run, 50 meters sled pull of 103 kg, 1 kilometer run, 80 meters burpee broad jumps, 1 kilometer run, 1,000 meter rowing, on the row machine, 1 kilometer run, 250 meters farmer carry of 24 kg, 1 kilometer run, 100 meters sandbag lunges, 20 kg, 1 kilometer run, and 100 wall balls of 6 kg. Okay, so some of that might not mean anything to some of you, but obviously you understand a lot of it. I read out the men's weights there, but there's not a huge difference between the two. So that's what Hyrox is. Uh, it was brought to the gym by one of the ladies in there who did it. I don't know what. Maybe it was Birmingham, maybe it was London. It might have been Birmingham. Apologies. It was in England, right? Um, and the idea came to the group or to Martin, whoever it was, to say, that they should do it as a gym, and a gym effort, and have a number of people do it together. And it was, I think it was initially planned that they were going to go to London to do it as a group, and then they had basically too late to get into London. That one was sold out, so they decided to go to Malaga, uh, and the ideas, went off and things increased, and it became, a weekend in Malaga, Friday to Monday, I think they said, and Martin said to me, like, "Oh, you should do it. You'd be good at it." Now, like, you know, I don't take compliments very well, like all of us, I think. And I was just, I didn't even, to be honest, I wasn't even at the time thinking of the Malaga thing or anything like that. At the time away, nothing to do with that. I was just thinking of the idea that I never wanted to compete in anything, sporty. I never wanted to compete in jiu-jitsu, like I've talked about before, and I wouldn't do a CrossFit competition. And I guess this kind of falls under that bracket. A lot of the movements are to do a CrossFit, and I'm guessing that Martin thinks I would do good in it because of the running aspect, because I like to run, and some of the other stuff maybe less so, but you can kind of get around that. The running is the main part of it, like with the amount, I think it's 9 kilometers in total that you have to do between the different schedule, or the different movements and different exercises. So yeah, so Martin said that to me, and I dismissed it, and the numbers were going up with regards to people going to Malaga. So I think it was like 15, something like that. So I was, I wasn't, I don't know what happened, right? I can't honestly say. Something took over, and I decided to hang on. I'm going to sneeze now. Yeah, definitely got a head cold because I never sneeze. I had this sinus procedure done a few years ago, and since then I very rarely sneeze, which is a pity because it's quite an enjoyable sensation. So I was at home one of the days. It was a few weeks ago, obviously, and some mad notion took me, and I decided that I do it. So I went onto the website, the Hyrox website, and I went into the the Malaga thing, and it was all in Spanish, so I was kind of guessing. But I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. Do you know what I mean? You don't have to have a great grasp of Spanish to understand what each section meant to type in. But there was a couple of moments I had to Google Translate, but I got there in the end. So I sat on it for about a week, I think. And then I thought, right, I'm going to have to tell someone. And so I said I'd tell Martin because, he's the head coach in that. So I said, I'd go tell Martin. I said to Martin, I'm going to do it. Do not say it to anyone. For the simple reason that I don't want people to come to me and talk to me about it, because as we'll get into, that's when my anxiety goes off. And I push back against it, and I won't want to do it. Now, at that point, I hadn't booked my flights or anything. I just booked the actual the competition spot. So about 2 days later, someone said it to me, and I hear you going to compete in the Hyrox, and I mean 2 days. So I went to Martin. I told him. I said, "Why are you telling people? I told you not to tell people." And he said, "Oh, I thought you told that person." And I said, "Why would I tell that person if I told you not to tell anyone?" And anyway, so it was grand. It wasn't grand, but it was, you know what I mean? Like, we just left it. And I said to Martin, I was fuming the fact that, like, would have been around by now, because people just look. it's not out of anything bad or anything like that, but people will talk and people will say, people knew that 16 were going now, and that was another thing. So people knew that it was 16 instead of 15 now. And people were asking who the 16th person was. And, people talk and it would have got around. And in my naivety, like I was kind of annoyed, and I said to Keane, I was like, if anybody, one more person says to me that I'm going, I'm not going. And I was kind of angry, but that was kind of a fleeting moment of anger. But like 2 weeks later, someone said it to me in the morning class. Now, this person said it to me in the morning class, never in the evening class. So wouldn't have spoken to the people in the Hyrox. They're mostly, if not all, evening class group. So I didn't know how this person knew. And then I was thinking, well, if this person knows, everybody knows. It's common knowledge. Now, I understand people who would be thinking, nobody cares that you're going. Um, you're making a big deal out of it. Everybody's focusing on themselves, their own training and all that. I know that. I'm not naive enough to think that I'm so important that everybody's talking about the fact that I'm going. I understand that. But the reason I didn't want people to know was because I didn't want to keep hearing about it. Because if I kept hearing about it, I'd become more and more anxious. If I could push it back in my mind, train like I have been training, but push it into the back of my mind that this is happening, then I wouldn't be pushing back against the idea of me going and jeopardizing the fact that I would go. And I honestly, and we'll get into this as I said, but I honestly, if I feel that the anxiety is getting too much and it's starting to affect other aspects of just my life, my training and things like that in the next few weeks, because sorry, I should have said it's the 14th of April that it's kind of happening. I'll just cancel it. Like, it doesn't matter about, like, I don't care about losing of course I care about losing the money for the flights, but I'm more concerned about my mental health than, a couple of €100. Um, it's not that big of a deal. I've been unfortunate to miss some stuff before, like I said, like concerts and stuff because of anxiety and, um, you know, my own health and well-being comes before anything, obviously. Then a competition or a concert or a trip away, anything like that. So on the other side of it, the reason I think I'm doing it um is because I've never had any athletic ability. I played for a football team in Swords and Swords Celtic, and I was always on the bench. The odd time I came on, and every time I came on, the referee gave out to me because I was wearing glasses and didn't have a little strap on it. But I couldn't see without it. I mean, it was bad enough of football with glasses on. I was a tragedy without. But my brother was on the team, and I kind of got in because of that. Really, well, even though I started before him, I still wasn't in the team before him. But I never had any skill, in football or any of that kind of stuff. I tried basketball for a while. We had a hoop in the back garden. Um, you know, it's quite easy to get a score when get the ball in the basket when nobody's jumping up in front of you. But I remember I've never went for the basketball team in school. But I remember playing a game of basketball in school with the team. It wasn't a practice or anything like that. They were just playing at lunchtime. And obviously, I came in thinking, oh, I can shoot a couple of baskets or hoops or And yeah, it was terrible when people were in my face and they were just taking the ball off me, and I was like, I had no discernible talent for anything athletic. So, with running and it became something that I don't know if you could be good at it, but I think I was certainly resilient and into long distance stuff. I'm not a sprinter or explosive in that sense, but long distance kind of it's I like it, because you can just get out there, do it, and you let your brain go where it wants to go and have a good think. So I thought that this, as I'm improving physically and with some of the movements, and I've started to train on a Wednesday at lunchtime with Martin and one of Martin's friends, and uh, training specifically for it. The burpee jumps are horrible. Um, but as for the rest, I used to hate wall ball, and I'm kind of starting to get a bit okay with it. The reason I think I'm okay with the wall ball idea on this Hyrox is because it's the very last thing and there's no run after it. So you do 100 wall ball and then that's it. So there's not, a run after 100 wall balls is tough. So I'm glad that there's not that. Um, so I've been training for that. My diet has been pretty good. It's not as good as it was maybe a month ago or whatever, but I don't see that as too much of a problem. I mean, the next 3 weeks I could just go back to the counting calories thing I was doing and just steady off, a bit, and that's fine. Excuse me for 1 second. Sorry about that. Someone commended me there the other day for muting the microphone when I blow my nose, but like you can't just blow your nose into a microphone. That's very off-putting. So I've been trying to balance the training, the CrossFit and Hyrox training with my, I've started swimming again and with my running and jiu-jitsu. So it's getting the right balance without being wrecked for one of them. Swimming is obviously a little bit more, nice, taking it nice and easy again. But um, so yeah, so I hope that's explained why I'm doing it. Like, I don't think it's me trying to prove. I'm not trying to prove something to myself or to anyone else. Um, but I do like to think that if I do this, it's gonna it's for one, it's gonna be a huge um achievement, physical wise, but it's gonna be more of achievement for and why, sorry, how I get there and how I get through the 3 or 4 days being away from my norm, Um, so yeah, but let me read out an advert and we'll get into that after. So, Fusion Training Center, Monksland Athlone, a place to train in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, kickboxing, martial arts, and CrossFit. A great atmosphere with experienced coaches and a real sense of community. If you want to join the team, find us on Facebook at Fusion Training Center or drop in for a chat. Fusion Training Center, train like a warrior. Kind of did that half not looking and half looking at the page. So I think we're close enough to a full reading without the copy. Look, I was looking at this the other day, actually, this notebook here. If you're looking at the screen, right? So a lot of it is notes that I made during the lockdown of the episodes that I recorded during the lockdown. And I just, it's so funny, like the amount of work that went into some of those episodes about, well, different things. And I wonder, do I still think the same thing? I started this 3 years ago now. So it's kind of, in that way, it's kind of crazy. It's actually over 3 years ago because it was February February 2020 when I started doing it. So, to think every week for 3 years we've been filling time on this podcast, and someday we'll miss a week, and that's fine too, But at the moment, we're doing all right. Um, so having gone through the reasons that I want to do it, here's the reasons I don't want to do it. I don't want to travel. I don't like the sun. The heat's going to kill me. Um, the pressure of socializing with a large group, even though I know them all, and they're all grand, they're all sound. Um, airports, um, just look, I could go on. And what happens is then, as the time approaches, and no matter how much you want to ignore it and how much you don't want to talk and think about it, there's this kind of grey cloud of anxiety just rolls in. All encompass. Oh, that's not the right word. Um, it's just. It, it, I think it's the idea of everything being up in the air, I suppose, right? So when you're like, and this applies for everyone. This is not just to do with people with anxiety, but this particular part applies to everyone. When you're in your usual daily routine or weekly routine or whatever it is, there's a sense of balance and a sense of control and an idea that most things, 99% of things are going to go all right. Like there is obviously spanner in the works here and there, and that's where we have to think on our feet. And we're kind of built to do that too. And some people are built better than others for doing that. But take that 99% and just throw it away. And you're almost starting from scratch at 0% and see what happens. And once I leave this house on the 14th, maybe it's the 30th when we fly out, but whatever it is, um, it's all up in the air, like literally, with the plane and all that. I had to explain that joke. So it's like the idea of if you, and we've all done this, like say if you've cleaned the house from top to bottom and, well, we've not all done this, you know what I mean? But the idea of clean the house from top to bottom and people have kids or people have dogs and they come in and they just wreck it and you think, why did I even bother? But it's still that idea of for that moment, everything is in its right place and the way you want it to be. And then something comes through, a little hurricane comes through and throws everything up in the air. So to me, that's very scary. I can't get a grip in my mind of what and where I'll be. Um, you know, I haven't been on a plane for many years. I'm not afraid of flying or anything like that, but I don't like airports and that. We'll talk about that. We actually talked about that last week with Ali. Um, but the idea of arriving in a place I've never been, you know, the hotel wants to know when I'll be there. I don't know. Um, it's not, well, it is a sense of being in charge because it's like when you're talking about yourself, you're in charge. But when there's 16 other people, you're just one voice of 16 and you're not in charge anymore. So I think like that was the one idea I had as well of when we, they're getting a villa and, which is obviously cool and it looks very nice and all that. But I immediately said I wasn't staying with them, that I was going to stay on my own, and I booked a hotel room and stuff. So I have that, peace of mind there that look, there's a bit of a carnage with 15 people. At least if I have my own hotel room, I can get some semblance of calm and rest because I'm going to need it. Like because I'll be wiped with anxiety for those few days, and I'm gonna I will need there to be a place where I can just go, and it doesn't matter what I do. Like have the TV on or have my book and listen to a podcast, listen to music, whatever it might be. It'll just be that's given me one little hint of solace, like that amidst all the absolute carnage and mayhem that I will have that little, almost desert island of peace. Even though it won't be peaceful because I'll be an anxious wreck, but the hotel room at least I can go when because I don't want to go out like on the town or they're all like if they all want to go out and celebrate, which they should, their achievements. To a certain degree, I'll go, go and have dinner and all that. That's cool. Like, but go if they're gonna. We're not staying in Malaga. We're staying outside Malaga. But if they want to go into Malaga and go, clubbing or whatever they do, at least I know that if I was to go back to the villa and everybody came in at like 2:30 in the morning, I'd be grumpy shit the next morning because I want to get up early and I don't know, maybe go for a walk or run or whatever. But if I've been woken up, I've only got a couple of hours sleep. And it's selfish of me to think that it should be any other way, that people should creep in the middle of the night just because I'm in bed. I should have no look at any sort of, effect on their enjoyment. So that for me is being able to, go out for dinner and head back to the hotel and get an early night and do what I like to do. Because it's not this is a huge thing for me. So I'm going to take some sense of control of how I feel about it. And I also don't want to put my anxiety or grumpiness, because my anxiety can lead to grumpiness, um, or kind of withdrawal onto other people. I don't want them to feel, oh, is Derek all right? He's very quiet. I don't want it to be like that, because even though they know I do this podcast and it's a mental health podcast and that I've been through a bit, they understand it, but I don't want them to feel that they need to worry about it. So to have my own place is that one kind of bit of, like I said, bit of solace. The last few times, like I've had really bad anxiety was at concerts, because they were the one thing that was kind of taking me out of my comfort zone. I went to Radiohead in like 6 years ago now, which is kind of mad, and I went to Peter Gabriel maybe a year before that, or 2 years before that, and I remember being like, I think I talked about this, but sometimes I can't remember. It's so many episodes. But I remember Peter Gabriel one going with my mum, and I was just lying on the couch before it, and she thought I was going to cancel it. Like, and thankfully I didn't, because it was an amazing concert. But I felt so overwhelmed with anxiety before that. And the Radiohead one, I actually got like physically sick before that gig, and again, there was no way I was canceling it. Like I was gonna, well, I had to go, because one of my favorite bands and stuff I've seen before, but they were kind of experiences that, whilst I thought these are amazing concerts and I love, live music is brilliant and all that, it's not worth that much grief to go through. To be honest with you, that I feel so sick before and I feel so wiped out after it. So they were just, excuse me again. This is bad. I've fallen apart. Every time I seem to do a live one, I've got all sorts of issues, But 1 second, sorry. I'm supposed to do jiu-jitsu later on. Hopefully, I'm all right to do it. So I think I talked about the Miami experience, and Miami for me was just, it was 3 weeks, and it was more than just Miami, because we went from Miami up to Washington, but in a kind of those cars, they're like 7-seater ones, and I hated. I was with a girl I was seeing at the time, and a group of her friends. I didn't know them, and I hated it. I remember standing in immigration, because obviously immigration's in Dublin Airport before you go out to Miami. I just wanted to run. I just didn't want any part of it. It was just so much. There was so much going on in my head, and so much that, like, it's not just a thought process, the anxiety, it's a physical reaction as well. So, the fight or flight mode is obviously in your head, but it comes into your body. It's that idea that I talked about, that pins and needles feeling in your arm and the heaviness in your chest and stuff, and everything just wants to run. Now, obviously, I fought that, but this was before I did have the breakdown and whatever else happened after that. So this was a sense of not knowing what any of this was. And like I thought at the time, and this I suppose this was reasonable enough to think that there was 6 of us. I knew one person. I'd never met any of the other 4 people beforehand. So I thought it was that. I thought that was why I didn't want to be there, because, you know, I was struggling to come up with conversations, and um, they were probably thinking, well, what's the story of this lad? And there was some glances and things like that. And it's not there's anything wrong with these people, but I just didn't know them, and I didn't, it turned out I didn't have anything in common with them either. But I didn't know that at the time. But I remember being in Miami, and it just everything was bugging me. Everything was bothering me, um, and I didn't know why. I know now it was anxiety, and anxiety leads to, well, for me anyway, it's kind of a grumpiness and um I wouldn't say I fly off the handle or anything like that, but I'm kind of short and um with people, and I just don't want to have to do things that people expect me to do because I suppose it's just self preservation. It's not like on other people of what they've done or um and sometimes very hard on myself with that as well because I think like, oh, cop on, you should be at least try to be like you usually are with people, and try to be nice and stuff. But it's not. I can't handle it. That's the problem. Uh, I'm getting better at that, by the way. I'm getting better at handling the anxiety and stuff like that. And that's what's interesting to me this time around. Is like, will I be able to sort it out? I remember we went from Miami to Daytona, and I was in Daytona, and I had been there before, and it's a kip. It's sorry if there's anyone. I doubt there's anyone from Daytona Beach listening, but it's kip. It really is an awful. It's just like this strip of bars and restaurants and dingy looking stores, and it just look. It's got the sea there, which is obviously a bonus. But I remember trying to break up an argument and get my head bitten off for it. And I just thought to myself, right, that is a perfect excuse for me to get out of here. And I remember talking to my mom and trying to get my aunt's number who lives in New York. And then my idea was, well, we're not going to finish the drive to Washington with these people. I'm just going to fly to New York and then stay with my aunt for a couple of days and get fly back to Washington, get the plane out there, whatever. But that again wasn't a reasonable reaction to what happened. Like it was just an argument or whatever. It was an argument I didn't start or didn't. I was just trying to break up really and got my head bitten off. But I just didn't want to be there. So the idea now, many years on, I think it's so hard to remember some things. You know, when anxiety is rampant, and it's hard to remember dates, but there's something in my head that tells me it was 2007 or 2008 that I was in Miami. So that's how long ago I was in, an airport, and I've flown. So that's what I'm kind of concerned about is how I'm going to handle that anxiety, that fight or flight. I'm I'm not sure if we're all on the same flight, so I don't know how that works out. I'm pretty sure I'm on the same flight with Martin and Keane. I hope I am. Um, I like to think that'll help. Look, yeah, I try to get the seats next to them. I think I have got them with the extra leg room and stuff like that, which is comes in handy when you're tall. But so I don't know why they need the extra leg room. That was an unnecessary dig. But the me to handle that now, the fight or flight is going to be 16 years on from that is going to be interesting. Like, I am getting better at that fight or flight thing and I'm getting more confident and things are growing. I have to remember to look at the screen or the camera more. Someone told me on my solo episodes that I never look at the screen or camera. Well, because I still find it weird that I record those solo ones, but I'm a completist and the catalog we have on YouTube is there and growing all the time. So how I'm going to handle a fight or flight now? Like, will it be easier to have the two lads there? Will it be tougher? I think it'd be easier because there's a sense of they know that I'll be struggling. With or without listening to this podcast, they would have known that I'd be struggling. So maybe that distraction will come into play, and help that. I'm hoping it will. Once we land in Malaga, I mean, there's that's the whole thing. That's the funny thing about it. And I said it again to I forgot to show you this, by the way. I bought this up in Blackrock Market, if you can see it. My favorite animal is an elephant, and I bought that. I just liked it. It's pretty cool. For my desk here, I'm adding to the collection. And I also bought a little Clash poster, which I'm going to hang up on the wall of the podcast corner. So yeah, I was like I am focusing on the actual event. I'm trying not to focus on everything around it, but it's everything around it that scares me. When you're in the event, this event, by the way, I forgot to mention, some people are going in pairs and some people are going on their own. I don't know how many's going on their own. It's 4 or 5, maybe, or it could be more. and I'm going to do it on my own. The reason it's going to be harder, obviously, but the reason I want to do it on my own is that I don't have to rely on someone else, or they don't have to rely on me. So I can just go out there, not have to worry about what other people are doing, um, my partner's doing or whatever. I can just do it at my own pace. I'm not looking to score. I'm not looking for a high time. A quick time. Sorry. Um, I'm literally just want to finish it. So if it takes me 4 hours, I will. If it takes me 4 hours, it takes me 4 hours. I don't care. This will be the biggest sporting or athletic achievement I've ever had. So the goal is to finish it. Anything else is a bonus. I'm going to be thrilled with myself. I might even cry. Who knows? But so yeah, I want I want everybody to have a great time over there. I want to have a bearable time and not be a burden on others, which is very important to me. And well, as you can imagine, and the thing is, like, I'm not the like Martin is their coach. Um, I'm a coach in the gym, and I'm more of a facilitator. I'm not a coach. I don't see myself as a coach, even though I've got a top with coach written on the back. No, but I'm a facilitator. I help them get warmed up. I show them what they're doing, and then I let them off, give them words of encouragement. If anybody new comes in, that's different. Then I would see myself more as a coach. But for all these people that are going to the Hyrox to compete in it, I'm not their coach. Like Martin is their coach. Myself and Keane are more facilitators because some of them have been there longer than me, doing CrossFit longer than me. So I can't teach them anything at this rate. But I'm there to kind of maybe give a bit of encouragement and to just make sure everything's going smoothly and putting out the mats and the boxes. And to be honest, that's fine with me because I enjoy it and I get a bit of crack of it. So for them to do well too is hugely important to me, and obviously for them, and everybody, as you can imagine, has a different goal. Like some people are looking at times and they want to get a specific time, and none of us are doing obviously the pro version of it. So we're in the second tier, and we all want to do our best and get a good time, but it's an achievement for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're someone who's done CrossFit events or jiu-jitsu events or maybe done some running in their past or played football or anything like that. This is a completely different thing, and this is every athletic thing is an achievement. Um, and as I've read out at the start of this is a particularly tough course. We've done in our training, myself, Martin, and his mate Benny, we've done small portions of it. So I think one day we did 2/3 of it. So it's like half the running, but a lot of the other movements, like the lunges and walls balls, were 100. So we were doing the right amount of them. So I think it worked out as 2/3. And I felt all right after. Like it was exhausting. And it was in like 4 degrees. And this is not going to be the same as doing it in 20, 22 degrees. But it was the running part that we cut down on. And for me, I'm glad to say that this is the part I'm least worried about is the running, because I'm fine with, distances and running because that's what I like to train in. If it was sprints were involved, I'd be less enthusiastic about that idea. But yeah, so that's that's it. And I hope that I can shut up about it now for a few weeks and not think about it just every Wednesday, knowing that I'm going to be doing a training for it. Uh, it's 4 weeks away, 5 weeks away. Just get on with it. Um, Everybody knew that I was going. They were just kind enough not to come up and say it to me. They know now if they didn't know, by the way, because this episode comes out, they're going to see Hyrox in the title. Um, so if you do listen to this and you are going, I'm not saying don't come near me to talk about it. It's fine, but I won't be like really participating in the little group get-togethers. I'm not on the WhatsApp group. where all the other people are. That was another thing where the 16th person was coming because there's only 15 in the group. So everybody's kind of twigging that there was someone else going, I'm not going to be in that group. I'm just trying to forget about it for now. I just wanted to put it out there that, you know, I want, I want to do this um, in with some sense of, I hate using the word control. I've used it like 3 or 4 times now, and I don't like using it because that's not, it seems over the top, really. But I want to have some sense of having this experience to myself until it's over, and then I can be part of the group that went to Malaga and did it. I guess that's the best way of putting it. Really, that's the best way you're going. That's the best you're going to get. And but yeah, so that's it in Hyrox. So like I'm terrified, but we're going to do it. And if I don't do it, and we can come back to this if we don't and discuss why I couldn't or didn't do it, that's fine too. It's I made the decision on my own to give this a go, and if I'm the one who loses out on financially because I decided against it, I'm fine with that. That's just one of those things that happens. It's my mental health is more important than a competition, obviously, and I'm not going to put myself through the ringer just to get a time on an event that just came up recently in my timeline. Another thing that about whoops, sorry, I hit the table there. Another thing that I was away for a couple of days. I was just up in Dublin, so nothing too special. Like I said, I was up in Blackrock and stuff like that. And my mom was away. Well, she's away at the moment, and I was up in her apartment for a couple of days on my own, and got down to Blackrock Market, and very nice, relaxed, things like that. Went out as far as Dunleary to one of the it's in the People's Square. It's a market. It's in itself. It's a small market. So the Blackrock Market it's really cool because it's within kind of an archway, and you walk through almost like a tunnel nearly, like where you kind of walk through and see all the different stalls. And there's like a cool space where I bought that elephant. There's like loads of LPs in there and or records. And there's clothes stalls and incense, places to buy incense, all this kind of really cool stuff. And then I put a picture up of an Instagram. There's like an alien spaceship yoke that they rent out, or they did rent out. I don't know if they still do it. There was a poster on the fence where it was, but I don't know if it's still happening. But they use it as a commercial space where you can go and have meetings, and they can put it anywhere. Like they can put it beside there's one picture where there was out on a lake, and it looks really cool. And go and have a look at that on Instagram. It's just, I don't know where they got that idea from it, but I liked it. But I was trying to like, the idea was to I knew my mom was going away, and I was going to stay there a bit longer, but things came up. But I like the sense of trying to, don't use that word, recalibrate, don't use that word, but to kind of balance things, right? So, I live with someone, and we're cool, obviously, we get on so well, but sometimes you just need that. And I don't get it, like, because, I don't have that space to just relax for a night or two on your own. I was trying to remove the idea that I had to watch a film. I've got so many films to watch. I have to watch a film. I have to get through this book to get on to the next one. Always in a rush. Even when I was, I went for a run up there, and that's different. That's something I enjoy doing. But I have to train today. I have to go and do jiu-jitsu. Have to go swimming. All this stuff. Have to. And what I wanted it to be like was that I could just allow myself to just watch crap, or just sit there, just go for a walk with no no end to it. I mean, in the sense of like, I'm walking to this place to get that, so then I can go here and go home. It was just to go somewhere and to find some sort of, I don't know, balance is the right word, but it's like this kind of inner peace. I'm starting to sound really too much. It's too much incense burning in this room. But if you don't, do you know what I mean? I was trying to find the kind of some sort of balance and just to relax. It's very difficult. Um, this is going to be like definitely going to come up as a topic on the Lucky Works podcast because I don't think we're very good at doing that. Some of us are incapable of doing it. To allow ourselves to kind of just relax, get the balance, chill out. It's always rushing on to the next thing, even if the thing isn't very important at all. I have that thing, like I said, about, oh, I need to finish this book to get to the next book. I need to watch this film because I've got a stack of films over there. It's always need to do, and it doesn't have to be always like that. It's supposed to be kind of a chilled experience. So I tried my best. Maybe not with varying degrees of success to get that sense of, allow yourself to be in a certain space where you can just do something silly. Or I find that very difficult. I laugh and joke and stuff in the gym and all that, and we have a bit of crack and stuff, but it's not, that's in a group setting. I don't think I need to be always on the go with regards to consuming art in whatever level it is, or the podcast is a different situation because we're doing that once a week, and we want it to be out for you every Wednesday at 8 a.m. and I know people who do listen to it as soon as it comes out, and that's very rewarding, and it's something that I still can't quite understand, but I'm really happy about, obviously. But apart from that, like, there's no real. I have to teach some class and stuff, but there should be no. I put myself under so much pressure that anxiety does build, and I know that as well. Anxiety is naturally there, but it's not. I am creating some of it as well, and I obviously don't want to do that. So I tried it in Dublin. Not sure it worked. It needs a lot of work, and that's what I'm kind of looking forward to with doing this podcast with Josh, because we do talk about things like that and kind of go a little bit deeper. Um, it's quite, and again, a friend of mine kind of, laughed at the fact that we said they were deeply philosophical discussions, but they kind of do go that way. Like what's deeply philosophical to you? It is less or more philosophical to me. It's not. We're not all on the same level. And like I said about Josh, as someone who's studied this before, so I'm more willing to believe what he has to say about than some other people. So it's, yeah, there's a lot to go on. And this episode, I could probably waffle on, um, with this episode. Excuse me, got my pen. I could probably waffle on for a good time with this episode, but I won't. I'll save you the hassle. Um. So yeah, that's really it. That's now it's out there. Um. Everybody can see that that's in the title, and it's fair game now. But like, just please, if I don't seem as interested in a conversation about it, it's absolutely nothing to do with the person I'm speaking to. It's more to do with the subject matter and trying to avoid it until we get there. Um, I hope I explained some of that correctly. I'm sure not all of it is correct. But I do want to thank the Hyrox crew in advance for being kind and not talking about this with me too much. I want to thank John for all his tech support and also for his offer of support for our podcast with Josh, Lucky Works podcast. Very kind. I'm going to let Josh deal with that. It's his thing, so he's going to talk to John about doing it. That, and because I have to get John to do this, and I can't keep asking the man for favors. He's a busy man. I want to thank my mum, my dad, my granddad, Jared and Calvin as usual. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. I was going to wish you a happy Paddy's Day, but there's no point now. It's over. Um, it's only happening today, obviously. Uh, Spotify, Apple Anchor, Google Podcasts. Took me ages. I was doing that for the other podcast, by the way, and it took me ages to figure that out. I did have to text John for advice on that, actually, now that I backtrack furiously. But he helped me, and I think we've got it sorted. So yeah, please support our other podcasts. It means a lot. Continue to listen to this one. Um, yeah, let's go. We're getting through March. The year's going so fast. Thanks to everyone for watching, for listening. Uh, enjoy your week, and we'll be back next week with a guest, so you won't hear any of my incessant rambling. Take care. Bye.